Picture Xerxes, the great king of Persia, not leading from the front lines, but seated high above the battlefield on a throne of solid gold, surveying the world below with an air of absolute command. His throne, set atop a hill, overlooked the chaos below, a symbol of his unmatched wealth and authority, shining like a beacon for all to see, both friend and foe alike. Xerxes didn't just watch, he commanded with a mere gesture, his presence a psychological weapon meant to inspire his troops and terrify his enemies, every movement magnified by the grandeur of his seat. The throne, crafted by the empire's finest artisans and adorned with dazzling jewels, gleamed in the sun, a beacon of Persian might and a testament to the empire's limitless resources. Surrounded by his elite immortals, the king's most loyal and fearsome warriors, Xerxes turned the battlefield into a stage, his throne a moving palace that followed him wherever he went. This spectacle wasn't about comfort, it was a declaration. The king was above the fray, almost godlike, untouchable by the violence that raged below. Soldiers fought harder, knowing their king watched every act of bravery or cowardice, their fates perhaps decided by his gaze alone. For his enemies, the sight was meant to crush hope before the first arrow flew, a reminder that they faced not just an army, but the will of an empire embodied in one man. Xerxes' approach to war was unique. He ruled by presence, not by sword, his authority radiating from the hilltop like an invisible force. His golden throne was as much a weapon as any spear, a symbol that could sway the tide of battle without a single blow. This was not the image of a king charging into battle, but of a ruler whose authority was absolute, whose word alone could change the fate of nations. The campaign against Greece would be defined by this blend of spectacle and power, a display meant to awe allies and intimidate adversaries. Xerxes' golden throne set the tone for a clash of civilizations, a confrontation where symbols mattered as much as swords. It was a story of ambition, hubris, and the limits of even the greatest power, a reminder that even the mightiest rulers are bound by fate. The legend of Xerxes begins not with a charge, but with a seat of pure gold, a throne that would become a symbol for generations. And from that throne, history would be made, echoing through the ages as the world watched the rise and fall of empires. Xerxes was born into royalty, son of Darius the Great, ruler of the mighty Persian Empire at its height. He was also the grandson of Cyrus the Great, the legendary founder of the Achaemenid dynasty. Groomed from youth, Xerxes was taught the arts of war, justice, and the complex responsibilities of ruling over a vast, diverse empire. Though not the eldest son, his royal lineage and his mother's noble blood secured his claim to the throne. When Darius died, Xerxes inherited not just the world's largest empire, but also its immense burdens and challenges. Early in his reign, he faced unrest and crushed rebellions in Egypt and in Babylon, proving his strength and determination as a ruler. But Xerxes wanted more than stability. He sought to leave his own mark on history, to be remembered for generations. He's remembered for his ambitious invasion of Greece, a campaign that would echo through the ages. But he was also a visionary builder, expanding Persepolis with grand palaces and monumental architecture. Among his greatest achievements was the Hall of 100 Columns, a marvel of ancient engineering. These monuments showcased Persian power, wealth, and the empire's enduring legacy. They also symbolized the king's divine right to rule as decreed by the gods. Xerxes was a devout Zoroastrian, believing his rule was a sacred mission from Ahura Mazda, the supreme god. This deep faith fueled his ambition. He saw himself as chosen to bring order and justice to the world. His religious conviction gave him the confidence to attempt extraordinary feats, like the massive invasion of Greece. Xerxes was more than a conqueror. He was a visionary, determined to be remembered as a great king. His story is one of legacy, faith, and the relentless pursuit of greatness, shaped by both triumph and challenge. To understand Xerxes is to see a king driven by destiny, ambition, and the weight of history itself. His identity was shaped by both his legendary ancestors and his own bold ambitions. And it was this powerful blend that would ultimately define his reign and his place in history. Under Xerxes, Persia was not just a superpower, but the largest empire the world had ever seen at that time, a true colossus of the ancient world. Its borders stretched from the lush valleys of India all the way to the deserts of North Africa, encompassing countless peoples and lands. The empire was a vibrant mosaic of cultures. Egyptians, Babylonians, Jews, Greeks, and many more, all united under the rule of the King of Kings. Persian administration was remarkably sophisticated. The empire was divided into satrapies, or provinces, each governed locally by a satrap, but ultimately loyal to the throne in Persepolis. Taxes and tribute poured into the imperial capital, making Xerxes fabulously wealthy and allowing him to fund grand projects and mighty armies. The Royal Road, a marvel of ancient engineering, connected the empire's farthest reaches, with swift couriers relaying messages in just days, a feat unheard of in the ancient world. Persia's policy of tolerance set it apart. Conquered peoples were allowed to keep their customs, languages, and religions as long as they paid tribute and recognized Persian authority. This enlightened policy, begun by Cyrus the Great, kept the vast empire stable and greatly reduced the risk of rebellion or unrest. The Persian military was vast and incredibly diverse, with soldiers drawn from every corner of the realm, each bringing their own unique skills and traditions. At its core stood the elite immortals, a legendary force of 10,000 heavily armed warriors, always kept at full strength. But the army also included expert archers, swift cavalry, and skilled sailors from many lands, forming a powerful navy that projected Persian power across the seas. When Xerxes prepared to invade Greece, he assembled a force the world had never seen, an army and navy of truly epic proportions. Persia's strength lay in its unity, its diversity, and the absolute authority of its king, who ruled over millions. This was the mighty machine Xerxes commanded, a civilization that shaped the destiny of the ancient world. Xerxes' invasion of Greece was fueled by revenge and ambition. Determined to avenge his father's defeat at Marathon, he spent years gathering a colossal army and navy. The logistics were staggering: supply depots, fleets, and soldiers from every province. The most audacious feat, bridging the Hellespont, the strait between Asia and Europe. Engineers lined up hundreds of ships, creating a floating bridge for the army to cross. When a storm destroyed the first attempt, Xerxes' fury was legendary. He ordered the sea whipped and the engineers executed. The bridges were rebuilt, stronger than before. This act was more than engineering. It was a statement of Persian power over nature itself. Xerxes' army marched into Europe, a river of men, unstoppable and awe-inspiring. The world watched as the great king crossed from Asia to Greece. The invasion had begun. Xerxes' army, a moving city, advanced south after crossing the Hellespont. The king traveled in luxury, surrounded by his court and immortals. Rivers were said to run dry as the army passed. Many northern Greek states surrendered without a fight, swelling Persian ranks. Xerxes ruled by presence, holding councils but making all final decisions. The Greeks, terrified, formed a desperate alliance led by Athens and Sparta. Their only hope to defend narrow passes where Persian numbers meant less. The stage was set for legendary battles at Thermopylae and Salamis. Xerxes' confidence soared. His campaign seemed unstoppable, but the Greeks were preparing a fierce resistance. The clash between empire and independence was inevitable. The world braced for the coming storm. At Thermopylae, a narrow pass, a small Greek force led by King Leonidas made their stand. 7,000 Greeks, including 300 Spartans, faced Xerxes' vast army. The terrain neutralized Persian numbers. Only a few could fight at once. For 2 days, the Greeks held firm, inflicting heavy losses. Xerxes, watching from his golden throne, grew furious as his elite troops failed. The tide turned when a traitor revealed a secret path, allowing Persians to outflank the Greeks. Leonidas dismissed most of his men, staying with his Spartans to fight to the death. Their sacrifice became legend, a symbol of courage against overwhelming odds. Xerxes won the pass, but at great cost. The Greeks' defiance inspired resistance across Greece. The war was far from over. After Thermopylae, Xerxes captured and burned Athens, believing victory was near. The Greek navy, led by Themistocles, retreated to the Straits of Salamis. Outnumbered, the Greeks lured the Persian fleet into narrow waters. Themistocles tricked Xerxes into attacking, promising an easy win. Xerxes, eager for triumph, watched from his throne as the battle began. In the cramped straits, Persian ships became tangled and disorganized. Greek triremes, smaller and faster, struck with deadly precision. Xerxes watched in horror as his navy was destroyed. The defeat was total, a turning point in the war. Persian hopes of conquering Greece were shattered. The legend of Salamis would echo for centuries. The tide had turned. The loss at Salamis crippled Xerxes' invasion. With his navy gone, supplying the massive army became impossible. Fearing entrapment, Xerxes retreated, leaving his general Mardonius to continue the fight. The journey home was grueling. Disease and hunger plagued the retreat. The next year, the Greeks rallied and defeated the remaining Persians at Plataea. On the same day, the Persian fleet was destroyed at Mycale. The invasion ended in disaster. Persia's aura of invincibility was broken. Xerxes returned to Persia, his prestige diminished. He never again led an army into Europe. The empire's decline had begun. The small Greek states had defied the world's greatest power. The age of Persian expansion was over. After Greece, Xerxes ruled for 14 more years, focusing on grand building projects at Persepolis and Susa. His reign ended in assassination, a reminder of the dangers within the Persian court. History, written by the Greeks, painted him as a symbol of arrogance and hubris. His golden throne and whipping of the sea became legends of pride and downfall. Yet to Persians, he was a great builder and ruler, presiding over a vast, orderly empire. His invasion of Greece was ambitious, if ultimately doomed. Xerxes' story is a lesson in the limits of power and the complexity of legacy. He remains both villain and visionary, depending on who tells the tale. The king on the golden throne endures as a symbol of ambition, spectacle, and the clash of worlds. Subscribe for more stories from the ancient world.